Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All2ReelToo. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is...
Matthew Vision Haas Agnes.
That is a weird name, man.
Yeah.
Not sure why you picked that, but...
Yeah.
Well... If you didn't know by reading our thing, this is a special bonus episode here that we're doing where we're going to cover the first 2 episodes of the Disney Plus series WandaVision, which is the first Disney Plus Marvel TV series, miniseries, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I said an F word right away, man.
Yep.
So...
we're going to get demonetized now. No.
Fuck that. So anyways, we've got 2 episodes that they premiered on January 15th that we can talk about here. First off, I just wanted to ask you, Matt, what was your reaction to the episodes? Like, just your like feelings, like how, I mean, not like, you know, no details or anything, but like, what'd you think of them?
Well, I liked them. It's just that I was really confused about what I was watching because I didn't really know what the show was actually going to be about. I didn't really do any research. I didn't really watch the trailer or anything. So I saw that it was pretty much like them kind of like doing an homage to like 1950s, 1960s sitcoms. I was kind of like wondering like, okay, what up? I mean, it's cool what I'm watching. I'm just trying to figure out how does this kind of relate to all the other, you know, Marvel stuff, because I haven't seen anything like that in the Marvel movies where an entire, you know, 20 minutes or whatever is dedicated to like black and white formats and, you know, you know, act like the Honeymooners or, you know, Dick Van Dyke or whatever, you know. But I you know, thoroughly enjoyed whatever I was watching, which I was just kind of confused about what was. I mean, I had a little bit of idea what was going on, maybe like maybe some kind of simulation was going on, because there was like a few moments here and there where things would kind of break character and it would get really sinister for like a short second, like you know. Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
so, I mean, yeah. I too. I mean, I knew what I was getting into. I love the homage to the like old sitcoms and everything. It's pretty cool. I mean, all the episodes of this series are directed by Matt Shakman, who was actually a sitcom actor himself as a child. So I wonder if, I mean, I'm sure it was written by somebody else, so I'm sure he had a lot of influence on that too. He was on, he played J.R. Lubbock on Just the 10 of Us.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, the Growing Pains spinoff. Yeah, starring Bill Kirchenbauer, who is one of my Facebook friends in case he happens to listen to this. Anyways, cool. But if he is listening, hi, Bill. Anyways, want to jump in here. Let me, I took some notes here while I watched them. And, so, first time I've ever really done that on anything that we've ever covered.
Right. Yeah, we usually just kind of shoot from the hip. But,
yeah. But, you know, my hip broke, so... No, wait, it didn't. No. Somebody shot my hip. And, so we can't shoot from it anymore. the first episode, I'm not going to go down like a whole like breakdown of every episode. I'm going to assume people watched these that, you know, are listening to this, so they probably don't want to hear a, you know, complete breakdown of everything. But the basic premise of this is that Wanda and Vision are a newlywed couple moving to this town called Westview during what appears to be the 1950s. And in the episode, they're attempting to blend in as you know, humans, even though they're with superpowers and one's a android. They notice this. I'm going, you know, through different things, but they notice like this heart on their. Well, first off, I'm going to talk about. Okay, so basically, when it starts out, the first thing before even any of that starts is we get the classic Marvel animated, you know, logo thing, whatever, at the beginning, that has like clips from all the movies and stuff in it. It goes from being widescreen to 4:3 aspect ratio, and turns into black and white, you know, like the old school televisions. And it also goes from stereo to mono, which is interesting.
Oh.
Yeah. At that point, so because like old TV would have been in mono and not stereo. They're doing like homages in the opening of it to like Dick Van Dyke and I Dream of Jeannie and I Love Lucy and things of that nature. You can tell that they're totally, you know, trying to be like those shows, or like you said, Honeymooners and stuff like that. All your 50s, it's very, very 50s like. And I read that they actually shot the show using lenses on their cameras that were from the 1950s.
Oh wow!
So they could get the look of the old sitcoms, and they did that, except for the few times where they strayed from it for nefarious purposes, I guess, for lack of a better word. And they used a lot of what looks like practical effects, like it looked like things floating on wires and things of that nature, as opposed to, you know, CGI effects in a lot of things, with the exception of probably some CGI on Vision's face, because a little known fact is his face is painted a little bit, but a lot of Paul Bettany's face is actually later rendered in CGI when he's Vision. Which is interesting. I did not know that until recently. So we've got the where it opens, basically what it was saying, you know, okay, we got this thing where they have like it's set up like a regular, you know, sitcom. You've got like a situation where they notice a special date on the calendar, and neither one of them knows what the hell it's for, because there's a heart on the calendar on August 23rd, which I'm not sure if that date means anything, but it might.
Like setup, you know, of an old TV show, like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's they notice this heart on their calendar, and, you know, it's the classic sitcom setup where they don't know what the date is for. Neither one of them do, even though Vision is like a you know, an android that doesn't forget anything. He even says so. Right. So yeah, but anyways, it turns out that we find out later that it's a setup for a dinner date with Mr. Hart, who is Vision's boss at his job, where he's like where he computes things into like something, you know. I mean, I don't know, and he doesn't even know what it is. It's like, I don't know if that's like something that's gonna serve a bigger purpose of the show or not, you know.
Right.
But another thing is the opening credits I was looking up were written for this, the music at the opening for this and of the second episode were written behind the husband and wife team that wrote a lot of the music for the movie Coco, and the Broadway shows Avenue Q and The Book of Mormon.
Oh.
So, yeah. So anyways, they set up this madcap, thing. We encounter Kathryn Hahn playing the next door neighbor named Agnes, which some people online, and I might agree with this, are speculating she might be Agnes, might be short for Agatha Harkness. You take the beginning of that and the end of that, and you get Agnes.
Right.
Yeah. So, which is a character in the Marvel Comics who was a witch at the Salem witch trials who was immortal. So she was able to in the comic books she becomes both a friend and an enemy of Wanda. So that plays into this character. In the comic books she's like an old lady, old wrinkly lady though, not a middle-aged woman, so.
Right. But she's a witch, so she might be able to change her appearance.
That's true.
For a little bit at least, because, you only see her a few times. She might look like her normal self for most of the day, and then she pops out and,
Or like it is on most adaptations of Marvel and in DC as well, where they, they make their own versions for the television or movies. So.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like their own little spin on things, so.
Yeah.
She could be younger in this, who knows, So, and I thought Kathryn Hahn was brilliant in this.
Mm-hmm.
She was funny, and her and Wanda have kind of a Lucy and Ethel sort of vibe to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like from I Love Lucy. Like that's what I kind of felt from that. So we have eventually, after there's a misunderstanding. I mean, I know I'm kind of going through the episode, but even though I said I wasn't, but it's kind of to explain things that make sense.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So there was a misunderstanding. Basically, Wanda thinks it's their anniversary, and Vision thinks. And Vision knows it's a dinner date for Mr. and Mrs. Hart, his boss and his boss's wife, played by Fred Melamed, who is my Facebook friend as well. Anyways, and Debra Jo Rupp, who people know from that '70s show, among a million other things. And same thing with Fred Melamed, as he's in like everything. I mean, he plays Jonah's dad on Superstore. He
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's he's in like every sitcom or TV or movie that you out there. He's a great actor. So, anyways, love to get him on the show. So if you're listening, Fred, please message me. I already sent you a message, man. Anyways, don't
be too pushy.
I'm not going to. Anyways, so they have this dinner. Wanda misunderstands things and thinks it's their anniversary. So yeah.
classic sitcom mix-up, because they're both talking to each other like, oh, we're on the same page, that's great, and it's like, no, you're not.
Yeah, I love that. And it was cool too. The other thing about this episode and this one only was actually filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they shot it in Georgia, and they brought it in a live studio audience for these. And they had it shot, it was shot, like, the thing I love about it is you've got all the locked down shots of a 3-camera sitcom from that era. for everything except for a certain shot, a certain scene coming up, using those old lenses and everything. So it looks just like you could pop this in, right next to I Love Lucy or Honeymooners, and you wouldn't know the difference. You'd think it was shot back then,
Right.
With the exception of the fact that there's a weird android in it and stuff. But so
Yeah.
But anyways, the Harts come over for dinner, and basically Wanda's trying to cook dinner in the kitchen, after all this misunderstanding, because she thought it was the anniversary. She was wearing a negligee and stuff like that too. So she was, probably hoping to get it on with Vision, and wasn't able to. So basically, at the dinner at one point, like I said, well, actually, before that, there's an interesting thing too. There's a commercial at one point for a Toastmate 2000 from Stark Industries.
Yeah.
And there's a red light blinking and beeping. And it's very reminiscent of the Stark bomb that destroyed Sokovia and killed Wanda and Pietro, her brother's parents. That they sat there and it beeped and everything before it happened, and it was a Stark Industry bomb. So, and you get a red blinking light, the first use of color in the episode, which was interesting, in that episode. So there's got to be more. There's got to be more to that. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, it's symbolic, and plus too, didn't it make the sound that sounded like the Iron Man suit?
Yeah, it did.
So yeah,
and it's got that beeping like a bomb. So
right,
yeah,
like this is like kind of like the first indication that like this is not reality, this is something else going on type of thing, because like it's what I love about how these two episodes have been like so cultivated in such a way where it's just enough like a jarring like few seconds that like takes you away from like what you're watching to like let you know like something's really amiss here, like this is not like what we're watching is not really what's going on, like there's something else happening, because like it will just like like it would only be like 15 seconds or maybe 30 seconds at most where all of a sudden like people would just sort of break character and they'll just like stare at each other for no particular reason. And like when the guy was choking, for example, Mr. Hart.
Yeah, I was going to get to that right now. They end up having dinner. They end up having breakfast for dinner because Wanda's not able to figure out how to make everything, and she ended up turning the chicken into eggs. And so she used those eggs and made French toast with strawberries and stuff like that. And at one point, Mr. Hart chokes on a strawberry. I think there's a lot of symbolization here because, okay, there's the red color throughout. Scarlet Witch is her name, Wanda.
Right.
And so Scarlet is red. Strawberries are red. Hearts are red.
Right.
There's a lot of things, throughout both episodes. Anyways, and that red blinking light. So anyways, he's choking, and Mrs. Hart says, "Stop it! Stop it!" And then that's when the cameras decide to change from their normal sitcom look to be more handheld and more modern looking in the style, even though it's still in black and white. But he's choking, and they're all standing there. Right before he starts choking, though, Wanda's staring at him, and they were asking right before that. They were asking Mr. and Mrs. Hart were asking like, why, where are you from? When did you get married? Why don't you have kids?
Right.
All these things that they couldn't answer, and then he starts choking. But
Right.
Wanda was looking at him right before he started choking, so it's almost like she made him choke.
Right.
And
Like fear of getting caught or
Yeah.
whatever, because they don't know what's going. But not even so much a fear of getting caught, because she doesn't even know what she's getting caught for. So there's like extra confusion. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. As far as we know, she doesn't know. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah.
Because I have some theories we can talk about later. Anyways, she like commands Vision to save him, and then Vision uses his powers to save him by, phasing inside of Mr. Hart's throat and pulls out the strawberry. But nobody really sees it per se, because it's under the table, so it doesn't really reveal his powers per se to Mrs. Hart or anything. But she keeps saying, "Stop it, stop it, stop it," and it's like, is she saying that to her husband, or is she saying that to Wanda? That's what
Right. And it was kind of like a glitch, because she was like laughing the whole time, and it was like she was like thought that like her husband was like joking or pretending to choke or whatever, and she's like, "Oh, like stop!" Usually too, like when like during the show, like when you like realize the person is like not kidding around, and like you change like your tone, but she was like smiling like the whole time, and it was just like
really creepy,
really awkward. What's that?
Really creepy,
really creepy, and awkward too. Yeah, and also too, it kind of broke character, because like this whole episode, like Wanda is like, she's like, actually acting like someone from like those 1950s, like sitcoms, and then finally after like 30 seconds, she's like, "Vision, help him!" Like really serious, like like they broke character, like.
Yeah, like she's totally, it's like her tone of voice changes and everything, and it's not like she's not talking like Lucille Ball anymore or anything. She's talking like Wanda,
Yeah.
Anyways, after that happens, they save them, and they end up going home. I mean, that whole scene had like a very David Lynch kind of feel. Kind of a Twin Peaks, Blue Velvet sort of, interesting thing where it's like the 1950s idyllic America. But the way I felt is there's like some kind of something hidden in the underbelly of the world, which is like more reality.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like, when everybody talks about making America great again, that's the great they want, but it never really existed. So,
yeah, exactly.
except for this reality is a little bit more diverse.
Yeah, it is.
Than like a real 1950s sitcom where you actually have like a people of color in the society.
Like, well, some of those shows they may have, but they were always like in a kind of like subservient role, like but like man, something like that. Which there's nothing wrong with that type of job, but you know what I mean, like.
But like Vision has a coworker named Norm who is played by he's played by Asif Ali, however you say that.
I guess Asif, maybe.
Yeah, Asif, Asif Ali is his name. Anyways, which is Middle Eastern, I believe. I'm not sure. It doesn't say here, but he's appeared in things like The Mandalorian and other things as well. But he's like a person of color, obviously that you wouldn't see in a 50s sitcom.
Right.
So it does have a little bit more variety than I Love Lucy or Dick Van Dyke, where the closest thing to diversity you have is a Jewish person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there would be Jewish characters on those shows, but that would be, you know, or they'd be Jewish actors and but they'd be playing Christian characters.
Right.
Anyways, then towards the end of the episode, we have the like a standard end of a sitcom, you know, look at the camera, smiling at each other sort of thing, where they have this little talk to each other after the hearts leave, and then it zooms out, and then you have the credits roll, but then it zooms out of that TV into like quote unquote reality, and you've got a what looks like some kind of futuristic space station or something, where there's like a control panel and like a woman's hand, and then on one of the things there you see a sword logo. Sword is kind of like the space shield, you know, like Shield, like the organization within within the Marvel universe that we're well aware of from Agents of Shield and, you know, Nick Fury and all that stuff. Sword is kind of like the intergalactic version of that. So, yeah. So that's interesting. And then we have these, you know, female hands there, which I think is going to be Darcy from the Thor movies. Kat Dennings' character. Because she's supposed to appear in future episodes. So that's why I think that. That's my only reason for thinking that. But so and then we have like a cool ending where it goes into like the TVs and stuff, and you see like you see like these things where it's like these pixelated things where it's like the like three colors of the TV, the red and blue and yellow and stuff of TVs that create the colors of the old pixelation of old TVs. And and then it creates like these images, like a rose and some glasses, which I think is funny because it almost like implies that she's seeing the world through rose-colored glasses.
Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Do you want to take a break here, Matt, and then we'll talk about the second episode?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
let's do it.
We'll be right back.
It's the ninja from the Ask the Angry Ninja show saying, come listen to the show. We got the ninja wife to give you your movie reviews. We got the conscript to give you the ninja news. And we got the battle to talk about your sports. And as always, it is the Ask the Angry Ninja show. So ask me a question and we'll give you the ninja knowledge you need for your ninja life. Search for us anywhere you get your podcast from. Just search for the Ask the Angry Ninja show and enjoy the show.
And we are back. Okay, so then they had another episode, Matt.
Yes.
And this one looks more like the 60s. And it has a laugh track as opposed to a live studio audience.
Right. Also, too, if you notice, because I watched it twice.
Yeah.
Actually, if you notice, the first episode, the landscape is very barren. There's only a few houses in the neighborhood. And in the second episode, there's like sidewalks, so it's like almost like she's building the landscape in her mind or simulation or whatever's going on.
Yeah.
It's becoming more real, I guess is the word.
And it's a different house, because like in the first episode, it's like a one-story house, and now it's a two-story house.
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. And it's more bare. It's like more realistic looking in a way, because that's how sitcoms were. Like in the 50s, things seemed more bigger and, you know, more fake. Whereas they started to get a little bit more realistic in the 60s. Totally still not as realistic as, like, you know, if you're watching The Office or something. But you know what I mean. or Community or Superstore or Modern Family or some modern sitcoms or whatever. So yeah, which tend to be shot in one camera and practical sets a lot of times too. So they have a they start out where there's a banging on the window that keeps waking up Wanda, and she's keeps turning the light on with her powers, and then that wakes up Vision, and he goes to look at the window, says he doesn't see anything except for her rose garden, which is another interesting. I think there's something with flowers. Yeah. I really do.
Yeah.
So I don't know what yet, but could just be the red aspect of roses.
Right. Yeah, the color red again. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, they figure out that they think it's just a branch that's hitting up against the window. At one point, Wanda had gotten scared, and they're sleeping in two different beds, which was common on sitcoms in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And I guess in some actual houses, husbands and wives do this. In more like strict Christian families. Where I guess they schedule, because I was looking into this, they'll sleep in separate beds, sometimes separate rooms even, and they have a scheduled time, and sometimes even they have a third bed that is just for sex.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's just so weird.
Yeah, it's kind of
a
little bit too official, orchestrated.
It's like the only, I guess in some of these families, the only time they do have sex is when they want to procreate.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those kind of.
Yeah.
Nature tricked you into getting pleasure from this, that you'll procreate, but
yeah,
God forbid you actually enjoy the thing that nature used to trick you in order to do the thing that nature wants you to do.
Yeah,
it's isn't that one of the perks though? This is literally nature's way of tricking people, or any creature rather.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's why it is. That's why I'm against female genital mutilation and circumcision and stuff. Anyways,
right.
So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's just the whole reason why nature does what it does, is to trick you into
But anyways, she puts the beds together. Like I said, a lot of sitcoms, they were separated up until about the 60s is when you started to see it. And actually, if my research is right, the first sitcom to ever have a couple sleep in the same bed together, do you want to guess what it was?
I don't know. I Love Lucy?
No, they still had two separate beds.
They did?
Yeah.
Dick Van Dyke?
No.
No?
They never showed them. I don't think they ever showed them in bed.
Brady Bunch?
No, actually it was the Munsters.
Shit. Munster. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird. So, yeah, they, but anyways, the show, they put the beds together, and then she, uses her magic to make it one bed, and then they get under the covers, and it's implied that they're getting it on,
Yeah.
So, then we have, an opening credits, animated, kind of bewitchy sort of, animated opening. Like the animated openings of Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie and stuff like that. Yeah. In the opening, there were references to a lot of things. In the grocery store scene especially, on the wall there were like these posters for things, because like there's a scene where Wanda's in a grocery store shopping in the animated part, and there's a carton of Bova milk. Bova is a human-like cow creature who was like a midwife that delivered Wanda and Pietro in one of the versions of their history in the comics.
Right.
And took care of them for a while too, like kind of raised them.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah. And
like, none of that's in the Marvel universe, like, or the movie MCU.
Yeah.
That's so, yeah.
I mean, who knows if that'll lead to anything? It might just be like an Easter egg, you know. Bova.
An Easter egg, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because isn't bovine like a word for cow or
yes.
something like that?
Yeah.
Or,
yeah.
Okay.
Bovine is cow. So yeah, and his name is Bova. Yeah. His or her name is Bova. I don't know. I didn't check to see if it was a male or a female in the comics.
Okay.
Well, I'm assuming if it's a cow, it's got to be female, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah.
But there was also a poster for Auntie A's kitty litter with a black cat on it. Agnes Harkness was called Auntie Agnes by Wanda in the comics. And she had a black cat pet. So
right,
yeah,
witch
yeah,
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Black cats are good luck, for
them,
for witches.
Yeah, kind of like with Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Salem, her cat.
Right.
From another comic and TV show. And then there was like something that said either Wonder Oats or Wonder Mints because it was like kind of blocked or whatever. But there was a character named Wonder Man who at one time was part of part of the story with Wanda and Vision. And I think that in the comics, Vision's personality was actually taken from Wonder Man or something.
Oh, wow.
But, in the MCU, it was from Ultron, so...
Right, yeah.
Or not from Ultron, it was during Ultron, but it was from Jarvis.
Yeah, that's what it was, right? It was
Jarvis, yeah.
Personality or whatever.
Yeah, because, and same actor played Jarvis that plays Vision, so...
Yeah.
Paul Bettany.
That's pretty...
Yeah.
Oh, I just thought of something, too, really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
About what's that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, like the whole color red scheme, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also, too, when Agnes came over in episode 1 about dinner, she brought lobsters. And that's also red. So,
yeah.
Red-ish, depending on type.
When you cook them, and yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting. And also, too, at one point, the lobster is actually stuck to the door.
Yeah,
so that
it's
could
like
be
a door knocker.
Indication of, whatever reality is that she's trying to keep away is, like, knocking on the door, like, literally, like,
Yeah. Yeah, so, another thing about Agnes, too, is she's wearing a brooch in all of her scenes, like, different parts of her clothing. And in the comics, Agatha always wears a brooch. So
she's almost certainly going to be her.
It's got to be. But, who knows? It could be a red herring, pun intended, with the red.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, and plus, I've seen in, like, trailers for the show where there's at one point, there's, like, a Halloween episode coming up, and she's dressed up as a witch.
Oh.
Yeah. In the scenes, so, yeah. But, yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I want Kathryn Hahn to be evil, but she's good at it, too, though, because she was kind of evil on Parks and Recreation when she had a recurring role on there and stuff, so.
Yeah, that's right. She's also kind of she plays like like wild characters really well. Like
yeah, she does.
In Step Brothers, she played like the really weird wife of whatever his name is from, I forgot his name for Step Brothers, but
yeah,
she was always having sex with Mike. Why am I blanking on John C. Reilly's character's name? I don't know their names.
I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in like 5 years at least. So
and she was also in Transparent. She would play the rabbi in that show. That was pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah.
Yeah, and an interesting thing too is her character's name is Agnes. Another thing that I thought of because of the Bewitched sort of connections. Samantha's mom on Bewitched was played by Agnes Moorehead, the actress, and she was a witch on the show. So,
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like little things that, you know. I mean, I know some people like. I mean, I remember going to high school with these kind of people where it's like, why does everything got to have a secret meeting? Like, why if a person has a red car, why can't it just be a red car? It's like, well, could be, but also they could be a reason why they chose the color red as well. Like,
and there's a lot of times when things are completely unintentional, but they do mean something later. You know, like they take on their meaning of their own. So
yeah.
And I mean, it's just, you know, sometimes it's just the way it is. I mean, I'm looking at my book of symbolism right here that's on my table. So I like to read that a lot. So maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
Makes watching movies really difficult sometimes because I know how they're going to end before they end.
Right.
But so like I said, anyways, we've got like we've got those little Easter eggs. There's some other Easter eggs. If I didn't get them all, but there's a good article by on the Nerdist.com that breaks down all of the Easter eggs. So I would recommend checking that out. Cool. From the 2 episodes, including all the ones in the credits of the second episode. So, I mean, it seems like things are like 10 years later, basically now too, because it's in the 60s.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it seems like it's the next day.
Right.
So, it's just kind of weird.
Like the culture's changed somewhat, but not a lot. Like she's wearing pants now instead of a dress or a skirt or whatever. Like, kind of like you would find in the 60s, kind of like that style or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, even though the first episode was kind of Dick Van Dyke-ish, but Dick Van Dyke was on in the 50s and 60s. And in the you know, Mary Tyler Moore's character started wearing pantsuits. Or not pantsuits, but pants and a blouse and stuff, and towards the end of that series, you know, when it first started, I think she was wearing dresses, and then it kind of became more like this. So right before the before like events start happening, okay, Wanda's by herself, and she hears that pounding sound that they were hearing at the beginning. And she goes outside and she finds a toy helicopter in the bushes. And the helicopter is in color. It has the number 57 on it, which I don't know if that means anything. I think it could mean like something to do with one of the issues that Vision appeared in, from what I was reading. I think he appeared in like issue 57 of one of the runs. But who knows for sure. And the colors of it are kind of like Iron Man colors, but it's mostly red, but it's also got some yellow in it.
Yeah.
And it's got the sword logo on it again. So it's like and it's really interesting because we have yet to see any children in this show at all.
Right.
And there's a toy helicopter there. So
right, I didn't notice about that. Because Agnes keeps pressuring her about having children and why don't you have any kids?
Yeah.
And then there's always this creepy again, like where they kind of break, where things kind of get weird for a second. Like they all chant in unison for the children. Like, weird, like, you know.
Yeah, because right after that, Agnes and Wanda walk to this character played by Emma Caulfield Ford, who people know from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She played Anya in there. I haven't seen her in a while, so it was kind of cool to see her in something. and her name is Dottie on the show. She's kind of a like woman that runs the town sort of thing. She also has nice roses in her, and which they mention. They're divine, by the way, too. That's what Agnes calls them, divine.
Divine, interesting.
Yeah. So, which I'm pointing out for a future thing I want to talk about. Anyways, so they go to this meeting about this talent show that's coming up, because before that I forgot to tell you that they were practicing earlier. Vision and Wanda, who were going by illusion and glamour, and there's also several times where Wanda's reading a glamour magazine too, so just interesting. They're going by glamour and illusion as their magician names for the talent show that the town's going to be hosting soon for the children, and
which no children are present during the
which is interesting. There's a cabinet of mysteries or something. Is that what it's called? That they're doing like a disappearing woman act, sort of thing.
Yeah, one of those like closet things or whatever. Like.
Yeah. Kind of like Job had in the first episode of Arrested Development.
Yeah.
But on the front of it is the Mind Stone that is a picture of the Mind Stone that Vision has. So that's drawn on the front, which is interesting. So they're anyways, they go to Dottie's house, and there's this meeting of like all the women in town that are setting up the thing, and there's like people speaking, and it's kind of got this like Stepford Wives, David Lynch sort of feel again. At the thing, Wanda meets a African American woman who calls herself Geraldine. She hesitates before she says her name, like she's making it up. If you notice, I noticed it on the second watch. She kind of has this, Geraldine, the way she says it. And the thing we know about it is that is actress Teyonah Parris, who we know, unfortunately, because we're not going to have the big reveal here, is playing Monica Rambeau grown up. And Monica Rambeau is the daughter of Maria Rambeau, who we met in Captain Marvel, the movie. When she was in the 90s, she was a little girl. But now she's grown up, and that's the same character.
Oh wow!
So, and in the comics, her and her mother both were agents of S.W.O.R.D. So, and at one point, Monica Rambeau becomes Miss Marvel or something too. So different things like that in the comic books. So, anyways, Geraldine is not Geraldine really. She's actually Monica Rambeau. So, ruining that for you folks, but.
Oh well.
Yeah. But unfortunately, we kind of see it in the trailers and stuff too. So, at one point, when Dottie's talking, she says the devil is in the details, and Agnes says that's not the only place he is. And
yeah, it's
kind of interesting with the whole red motif.
Yeah.
The devil, Scarlet Witch, all that stuff.
Right.
But in the Marvel comics, there's a character named Mephisto, which is basically short for Mephistopheles. And he's basically the devil of the Marvel universe.
Wow. So he's actually like a spiritual, like Marvel actually has like stuff like that. Like,
yeah, they have their own devil,
like spiritual beings. Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, because they also have Norse gods too. So the
oh yeah, duh, of course, like Thor, yeah,
yeah. So they so one of the theories I've read online and I thought about too is that this might be implying that, saying that that's not the only place that the devil is.
Mm-hmm.
Is that they're implying that maybe the big bad of this whole thing is going to be Mephisto, who actually plays a very strong part in the comic books with Vision and Wanda. At one point, Wanda has 2 kids that were created from shards of Mephisto. She has twins. And they're technically, in a way, fathered by Mephisto. So I think he's going to come into play.
Like a Virgin Mary type thing in a sense. Mm-hmm. But like the reverse, because he's like the devil.
Yeah. And that's why I think there might be something with it, and it could be they might be throwing us for a misdirection. And I have a theory that Dottie is Mephisto.
Dottie.
Yeah. The woman who is running the meeting and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
I just have this feeling, and I could be completely wrong. I don't know, because I've only seen these 2 episodes. And I probably am wrong, but that's what's fun about speculation. The reason I say that is because her rose garden was divine.
Right.
Like, like a god or an angel.
Right, exactly. A divine. Also, too, I just looked up the name Ralph. Old Norse, and it means council, wolf, or famous wolf. And so that could be interesting, like a wolf's in sheep's cloth, like, you know, like.
And we never see Ralph, who is Agnes's husband.
Yeah, exactly. What's Dottie short for? Is that short for another name?
I don't know.
Dottie.
Right. Usually like Dorothy. I think.
I'm gonna look it up really quick while you're talking to see if I can find something.
Yeah. So anyways, after the meeting that they're having there, Wanda is like cleaning up with Dottie because she was chosen to clean up.
Right, exactly.
And the radio's the radio's playing, and at one point it starts playing "Help Me, Rhonda," which, with the way that the radio's kind of cutting in and out, it comes out "Help Me, Wanda."
Right.
And and then it changes, and you start hearing a voice on there saying, "Who's doing this to you, Wanda? Who's doing this to you?" And
right, yeah.
And I had the closed captioning on.
Mm-hmm.
It told me who the voice was.
Oh, really? I had it on too, but I didn't read that part. I guess I just read the text.
It's Jimmy Woo.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. Who is played by Randall Park in the Ant-Man movies, or in the second Ant-Man movie? Oh. He's the FBI agent that watches over Scott Lang.
Oh, wow.
And in the comics, he later becomes an agent of S.W.O.R.D.
That's stupid. They shouldn't have done that. I mean, after it's revealed, they should have.
But the thing is, it's probably not like a big deal because he was already announced to be in the show, so it's like.
Oh, okay. All right. Well.
So yeah. But yeah, because I knew Randall Park was going to be in the show. So.
By the way, just really quick, I looked up the meaning of the word Dottie.
Yeah.
And it means the gift of God. So that's interesting.
So maybe she's God.
Because it says divine, the roses are divine. Yeah. Her name means the gift of God. At one point, she cuts herself. That's the other thing. You see red blood this time when she cuts herself.
She could either be God or the devil, too, because, I mean, technically the devil was a gift from God.
Right. Yeah, because divinity doesn't necessarily mean good or bad. It just means you're the type of being you are, like a spiritual being or whatever.
Either way, I think there's something more to Dottie. That's yeah.
But didn't she seem afraid of Wanda for a second though?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Like what? Like it seems like they know something about her that she doesn't know about herself. And like,
see, and that's the thing. Okay, so like one of the major powers that in the comics, in like the X-Men comics, because Scarlet Witch was created as a villain originally. So, but we were introduced to her as a hero in this universe. But she had the ability to change the universe.
Oh wow.
Around her and everything, and basically almost create like a false universe for everybody around them. She could change it back if she wanted. And at one point, there was a story which this is influenced by a lot called the House of M, which is another thing from the first episode. The wine is basically the wine they're drinking translates to the House of Mystery.
Oh wow.
There in that I believe she creates a world where her family basically rules the world, and they're not bad, they're like good people. And in that timeline, Magneto is her father. So
oh wow.
Because in certain depends on which origin you go from. But in most of the origins, up until like 2000, until the 2000s or something, she was Magneto's daughter, and Quicksilver was his son. So, which in the X-Men movies, Quicksilver is his son. It's interesting because there's a Quicksilver in the MCU and there's a Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men movies.
Yeah. Yeah, because dude, in those movies, he's, different actor, different personality, everything.
Yeah.
Different country,
Peter. Yeah. He's named Peter instead of Pietro, but because in some continuities they're mutants, and in other continuities they're not. So it just depends on what we go with. So, anyways, back on track here. There's during that scene, when that comes on the radio, Dottie breaks the glass that's in her hand, and we see this red blood, and it's actually red, so it's interesting there. So, anyways, it's a possible Scarlet Witch reference. I don't know, but then we have there's a scene where Vision goes to a block watch meeting at a library where all the guys are there.
Yeah.
And turns out it's just basically a group where they talk about gossip.
Yeah.
At first Vision's more concerned about the actual workings of the city and stuff like that. And at one point, his gossip that he comes up with is he calls Norm a communist. Which is interesting because of the Red Scare.
Right. And was that a joke, or was he actually really a communist? Like, because he's all analytical.
Who knows? He could be. But either way, I just think it's interesting with the red aspect of that. And then he's offered... And then he's offered a stick of Big Red.
Right. And then that gums up his works, literally.
Yeah. And you see a cool animated, like old school 60s animated thing where the gears inside of him get gummed up. And then
which make him like drunk, essentially, like.
And then after that, we see an ad for a Strucker watch. Baron von Strucker was the guy who created Wanda and her brother in the MCU. He basically gave them them their powers.
That is really like time and stuff like that. That's so interesting because
the tagline of it is he'll make time for you.
Damn, there's so much. Also, too, really quick, I don't want to get you off track too much.
No, go ahead.
But in the first episode, right, with the toaster, with the ad, it said, like, it was a really ominous ad where it's like, forget your past, this is your future. It's like, whoa, like,
yeah,
like, you know.
Yeah, so it's all about time and playing with time and stuff too, which is interesting with that. And there's a like I said, in the end on the watch, it also says Hydra on the watch.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it's a Strucker watch made by Hydra.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm. So we go to the magic show after that, or not the magic. I mean the talent show, where there's going to be a magic thing. So, anyways, just a little behind the scenes thing that I found out about this. That was shot at Universal Studios in Hollywood during COVID.
Oh wow!
Because it was one of the later things shot of the miniseries. They had shot a lot of the stuff in Georgia, but then had to shut down because of COVID. And then when they were able to come back, they shot most of the rest of it in California. And they shot this scene on Blondie Street at Universal Studios, which is like a backlot set that's used in a lot of TV and movies, and it was used in a lot of old TV shows like Andy Griffith and Dennis the Menace and Dick Van Dyke and all these different things back in the day. So it's interesting there. And if you notice, all the people that are sitting out watching this, there's not really a lot of people, and they're sitting far apart from each other, which adds to the eeriness of the thing. But I think it was done for practical reasons because of COVID.
Yeah.
So they were kind of like not sitting next to each other. And so it's interesting when you see these things that are shot during COVID and how they deal with it.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the, I mean, besides like, some of the stuff that's currently on like Superstore and stuff like that I've seen that was actually shot during COVID, and where it's kind of cool to see how they do it. And there's things that you probably wouldn't notice unless you knew that ahead of time, Anyways, they get to the magic part of the show. Vision is there, and he's basically drunk on gum. Somehow. There's another interesting thing too. Like in the square, I heard somebody point this out on a different podcast. There's a department store behind them that says Wentworth, and I guess in the comics there's this organization called AIM that somebody named Wentworth has something to do with, and there's one of the goals that they have is like some kind of female domination.
Oh wow!
We don't know Dottie's last name. Maybe she's associated. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure. This is just speculation. So there's they start doing the magic show, and Vision starts using his like real powers during it. And at one point they're like they make it so there's like Wanda makes strings appear and stuff, so you know why he's floating and doing other things. And then has like a cardboard piano and all these different things, and has mirrors back there. My favorite line in the thing is like, is that how mirrors work? Right. one of the spectators says. It was pretty funny. So they end up winning the comedy performance of the year, and from Dottie, and so basically they thought they disappointed her, but they didn't. She actually loved the show. So they go back home, and we find out that Wanda is pregnant. And They hear a noise outside again. They go outside, and there's a guy wearing a beekeeper's uniform with a sword logo on the back of it that comes out of a manhole with a bunch of bees flying around.
He comes out of the manhole or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like crawling out, so creepy.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead, sorry.
You know what I was gonna say? He's wearing like a beekeeper's uniform, and that's another thing too. Like the uniforms that the people in AIM wear are called beekeepers' uniforms.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on here.
I just looked it up too because he was swarmed by bees.
Yeah.
And I looked up Beelzebub, and it means literally Lord of the Flyers or Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
So it's he's like the king of demons. So that's interesting.
And there's also a character in the comic books named Swarm. Who is literally made up of a bunch of bees, and he was a Nazi scientist.
Oh wow!
So
that could be him, or it could be the whole devil thing too. Like, yeah, or no one could be someone else too.
So, anyways, after that happens, Wanda sees this and looks scared, and she says no, and then things rewind. So Wanda has the ability to rewind things. And then it goes back to the moment where she finds out she's pregnant and they're celebrating. And she says to Vision at one point, "Is this true?" And then he says, "Yes." And then things start to become Technicolor.
Yeah.
So we're moving into like the 70s or something, I guess.
Right, yeah, which would be interesting. What show they might try to like mimic, like maybe Three's Company or something.
Yeah,
or like
one of those, or Happy Days or something, or or whatever is around then. We'll have to see next week. Do you want to take a break here really quick, Matt, or did you have something to say really quick?
Yeah, well, yeah, I can say it when we after the break.
Okay, cool. We'll do that. We're going to take a quick break here, and then we'll talk about some speculation about next week or something, and we'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Tom.
And I'm Brian.
Hosts of Be Hero Fights.
Home of the greatest debates of our time.
We tackle the tough topics such as
Fortnite vs. Call of Duty.
McDonald's vs. Burger King.
John Wick vs.
Wait, is that really fair?
Nevertheless, join us weekly on Spotify, Apple, Google, and pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts.
And hear the madness ensue.
And as always,
fight on.
And we are back. So yeah, what kind of speculation or questions or something did you have here, Matt, before we wrap things up?
Well, just really quick about do you know how many total episodes there's supposed to be in the show? Like 8 or something, or
I believe 9.
9. So if they're going a decade each time, they might have to eventually not do a full decade after a while, because next week might be the 70s, then 80s, then 90s. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't think they're gonna, and they might eventually go out of the sitcom. Thing. Yeah. I'm thinking, because I'm not really sure how it's gonna go, and that's what I kind of like about this, is because you just don't know where it's going.
Yeah, exactly.
The last time I really felt like this about a show is maybe Lost, which then lost me. But yeah, it's kind of got a Lost feel, or maybe, I don't know. There are certain other shows too where I have like speculation, like when I watch like like The Flash or something like that, where I'll be looking at comic books and I start to speculate on things and think about what's going to happen next. Where do you think this is going? Like, what do you think the big end game might be here? No pun intended.
End game. I was thinking about this, that it could either be a simulation that someone is putting her through, because like that voice saying, "Who's doing this to you, Wanda?" Or it could just be all in her mind. Like it could be a lot of stuff. This could be her processing her grief, perhaps, about what happened to Vision. That could just be like a really long dream to process her feelings, or it could be all in her mind, but at the same time, since she does have the ability to make reality what she will, maybe she's doing an experiment to essentially try to create like her own world, essentially where Vision is still alive, and one of the videos I saw basically said, her being from Sokovia and stuff, a lot of those countries, those poorer countries, they kind of, they have American television, but it's usually the older shows for whatever reason. So she could have grown up just watching these shows for comfort because her country was in a civil war all the time.
Maybe that's where she learned how to speak English and stuff like that. Maybe from these shows. I was thinking the same thing.
Right. So like her kind of doing this thing could be like a sort of comforting thing for her. Like this is what she thought America was, kind of just growing up watching these shows. The sort of ideal. Because the town is called Westview. So it's like. Could be her world view of what the Western world is like.
That makes sense.
What it was portrayed as, during those, and of course those TV shows are such a highly idealized, the whole "Make America Great" stuff. That's kind of what they want to return to, even though they don't act anything like these people.
Even though that's where I get the whole like David Lynch sort of thing, where it's like this never really existed, but it's like the idyllic like. You get the idyllic small town, but there's something going on underneath that we're not really sure what it is, and we don't know who's doing what and everything. And my thing is we don't even know who the bad guys are or the good guys, yet.
Right?
Is Sword good or bad? Is Sword trying to help her? Is Sword her enemy? Is she bad? That's the other thing too. The other idea that I possibly had in my head is maybe the actual villain of the show is Wanda.
Oh wow!
Because I've got a feeling that maybe the grief she had over Vision dying. She basically she's keeping these people in this town captive or something.
Maybe. Well, there was an old episode of I don't know if it was an episode. It was in the Twilight Zone movie that came out in the 80s.
Yeah.
And okay, so like for like the first half of that episode, you're kind of led to believe that like this kid's parents are just like terrible to him, like they lock him in his room and stuff, and they like don't let him like play with toys or do anything like that. But then like later on, you realize that like he's like extremely powerful and can like pretty much just like kill people at will if he like with his mind or whatever.
Yeah.
And like they're like giving him whatever he wants for like his birthday dinner, and it's like usually like really weird shit like hamburgers with like peanut butter on it, and like they don't even like question it. They're like just like, give him what he wants, like like type of thing. So like because like the whole thing too, like where like Dottie genuinely seemed like afraid of Wanda for like a quick moment, but like, before that he was acting like the queen bee of the town, like like you got my orders. Yeah, exactly, the queen bee. And then like all of a sudden she's like, I think she says like, "Who are you?" or something like that. Like really scared, kind of like. So, but that could go again like more ways than one too. That could be Wanda is the villain, or it could also be like they're afraid that she's going to remember who she is and that she's the one being trapped in here. Yeah. And then once she knows who she is, she might be able to find a way out. So there's so many possibilities,
Because it's like it's like I don't know, because it's hard to tell if the people in the town are for or against whatever's going on, and if they're real or not too. You know what I mean? I know for a fact Monica Rambeau is real.
Yeah.
So my thing is like, is she supposed to be there, or did she infiltrate Wanda's vision, pun intended, or
or there to help her, or at least watch for her to make sure she's safe.
Yeah.
It could be so many things. Plus, too, like I was just thinking for a second, with the whole for the children thing, when they like chant that in unison, which is really creepy, and like in the comics, of course, Agatha wants her to have children And at one point, at least in one of the stories, I don't know which one, she actually erases Wanda's memory of ever having children, and then just uses those children for her own agenda, essentially. So it could be a weird way of tricking Wanda into like producing a child by herself with her own magical powers. And like the only way to really do that is to like just do this weird mindscape thing or something. I don't know. Yeah, we've only seen 2 episodes, so we don't know.
And that's the thing. It's like I said, you don't know who the villain is. It could be Agnes. It could be Wanda. It could be Dottie. It could be Sword. It could be, Vision. For all we know,
Vision. It could be Vision. He could be like an alternate timeline version of Vision who's not great,
I mean, in one of the next big movies that's going to be coming out from Marvel is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So
this kind of leads right into
and supposedly Wanda's supposed to be in that movie. So who knows where that's going to lead to? We'll have to see when that comes out. Anything else before we wrap things up here, Matt?
No, I think that's probably it.
Yeah, I mean, please message us on our social medias, and let us know what you think's going to happen in the show. We'll talk about it in the next episode. What you guys had to say, if anybody does say anything to us. Comment on the video that we have on YouTube if you want, or on our Facebook page, and just let us know, because I'm kind of interested what other people think's going on in this crazy thing. I know a lot of people online were saying that they found this very boring, but I found it very intriguing. And the problem is most people just want like action. They don't really give a shit about the story.
Right.
And that's the problem. People are like, oh, it wasn't even funny. And I'm like, it wasn't like, of course it's not going to be like, funny in terms of like what you're used to on, modern sitcoms or something, but it's still funny, And
yeah, I mean it's a Marvel thing. It's not going to be like Friends or
Yeah, and plus, it did mimic though the humor of the 50s and 60s really well. Mm-hmm. Like I said, and I think the comic timing of Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen is just brilliant. And I mean, Elizabeth, has family members that were on a sitcom, so makes sense. Mm-hmm. Her sisters were on Full House, so
right.
And then later on, we got Kat Dennings joining the show, and she was on Two Broke Girls, the greatest sitcom of all time. And
sorry, I knew you were being sarcastic.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that show. It's like, I like pretty much all the actors on that show.
I know, but it's like the show is just so bad. It's so over the top and bad. And then and then you have Randall Park coming in, who was on Fresh Off the Boat, so it's like you've got, good comedy chops in the show too. And then of course, Kathryn Hahn, who's been on a lot of sitcoms and stuff. So it's pretty cool to see where this is going.
Right.
But anyways, like I said, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Well, I'm just saying, the whole thing, there was a scene in there that kind of reminded me of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's probably not intentional, but where Vision is like, what do we do here exactly? And they're like we're a computer thing. It's like, yeah, but do we build anything? Do we actually? And they're like, no. And that reminds me of an episode where Charlie was working at Frank's old business, and he's like, what do we actually produce here? He's like, we produce wealth. And it's like, yeah, but what do we build in order to produce the wealth?
There might be a reason behind that too, though, because Matt Shackman, who directed all of these episodes, also directed 43 episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh wow. Well, that could be.
So
I was just thinking of that. That could be then a real thing then. Wow.
Yeah.
Because that conversation was just really reminiscent of that, where he's like, well, what are we computing exactly? What are we?
So yeah, I mean, I knew it did seem kind of familiar from something, but then you brought that up, and then I totally forgot to mention that he's directed that. He directed an episode or two, or maybe more, of Game of Thrones, of all things. So he was actually suggested from the Sunny people to Game of Thrones to direct, and then he directed, I guess, some really action-packed episodes of Game of Thrones. So
Oh wow!
Or at least one. I don't know how many he directed, but yeah, he's directed a lot of stuff. We can talk more about it in future episodes here, but we're running kind of late here, so wrap things up here. Make sure you follow us everywhere that you can follow us, people. Stalk us, whatever. I mean, wait, no. Make sure you're out there being safe in society during the pandemic. Wear a mask, wear a condom.
Oh God, this thing again.
Oh wait.
You don't need to wear a condom when you're just like walking around. It's not,
But I've been doing that all week, Matt.
That's gonna feel weird.
It does, but
you gotta protect yourself.
Yeah. I don't want the COVID coming in, man. I mean, come on.
So are you just walking around naked or something? Like don't have any pants or.
Oh wait, the pants will stop it. Damn it!
See, there you go. And you got underwear too. You got 2 layers of clothing right there. So
I didn't think about that, Matt. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, who knows? These days, you gotta talk to people like science is like kindergarten.
I know.
So I guess we might have to tell people, wearing clothing can actually help. With like bearing the weather and the elements, and stuff.
I mean, nobody ever thought it was oppression when you suggested that you wear suntan lotion or something. You know what I mean? Or sunblock. Yeah. I mean, what the fuck?
We don't like science. We believe magic. Whatever. Oh,
but anyways, yeah. Follow us on the social medias. Check out our other episodes if you liked our little banter here. If this is the first time you're joining us, check out our Patreon. All that good stuff. And like I said, please send us comments and reviews and things of that nature, because I really just want to hear from our audience and find out what you guys think of us. If you hate us, let us know. I don't care. I might care. I'll probably cry, but
a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, on the inside. Plus, yeah, if you like the banter, the banter is aplenty with us. So
yes.
You'll probably get about 50% banter in every episode, to be honest. But,
yes. And like I said, be safe. Be kind. Rewind, like Wanda, and
yeah. And wear a condom.
Wear a condom. Bye-bye.
Well, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to All2ReelToo podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.